There are times through the year when my refrigerator just gets out of control. And there's so many odds and ends in here that need to get used. That's why pantry cooking is so important. You don't want to let food go to waste. Welcome to Meals with Maria. Today I'm just going through my pantry, my refrigerator, and we're going to use up some of the stuff that really needs to be used before I do more shopping. I'll also be doing some dehydrating to save some older fruits and meats, which is why I want to thank London Sunshine for sponsoring today's video. Stay tuned and I'll show you how I did that a little bit later. I'm going to start by chopping up and roasting some vegetables. So you can use anything that you have. I happen to have some onion. You can even see I have like these odds and ends that ended up in bags, and this is the perfect opportunity to use these. I had some leftover peppers. I always try and grab like a full bag of peppers if I see them on sale. Because a lot of times you can get, instead of just getting like one pepper, you can get a bunch of peppers. And even if you don't need all those, it's super easy to just roast them up and have them for a week to throw on salads or on rice bowls or really on anything they're eating. It's an addition of a vegetable, so they really can't go wrong with that. You ever buy something and then you can't even remember why you bought it or for what reason? I mean, this may have been on sale, but I feel like I bought the broccoli because I was trying to use it to cook something, and you could see part of it was used. But by the time that I went to roast it, I'm like, I don't even know why I have this, but it's fine. I'm going to use it and I'm going to utilize it. And then I had some carrots. Carrots are a great thing because they're super inexpensive and I feel like they last forever in the fridge. But once I go to roast some veggies, I might as well throw some carrots on there because, hey, it's easy enough to just slice them up and it's extra nutrients, and that way I know that my carrots are going to get used. Although I still had another bag of them in the fridge. I like to have them around because you never know when you're going to want to throw together like a soup or a stew. So many recipes call for like 1 or 2 sliced carrots. So they're great to keep in the fridge at all times. They're also great to roast. As I keep looking at the random pot top in the background, I'm like, tell me you have a 1-year-old without telling me you have a 1-year-old. He just takes everything out of the drawers, and we have most of them like locked up, but he still gets into like 1 or 2, and yeah, that's totally him over there. And when you do the vegetables, I'm just pouring some olive oil over mine. You can use like a spray, whatever type of oil that you have on hand. And then I'm going to go in with some of the Auntie Nono's grilling seasoning, or I think it was a steakhouse seasoning. Whatever your favorite seasoned salt is or whatever you're feeling that day, go ahead and just put right on top of there. And then I also did grab, I would have done like fresh garlic, but I have this paste garlic that I've just been trying to use up, and again, we're trying to pull things from the refrigerator and make sure that we're using up things before they go bad. And that paste in particular, I just want to make sure that I do use it as much as possible over the next few weeks. So I just kind of threw that in there and made sure that it got all over the veggies. And then I roasted these at 425 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. It's going to depend on your oven. I mean, the recipes I look up, they say 15 minutes, and that for me is just not enough. I like my vegetables a lot more roasted, I guess. So personal preference on how you want them, softer or crunchier, but it's that simple. So if you have a bunch of veggies in your fridge, a bunch of produce, it's going to go bad, you don't have a plan for it, I recommend just taking a little bit of time, slice them up, throw them in the oven. You're going to be happy that you did, because you can really put it in and on anything that you make. You can serve it even as just a side dish with your meal, and you're going to feel healthier for it. Now, because I'm doing kind of like a whole fridge clean out meal prep day, I'm actually going to prep up some chicken while I have my veggies roasting. So that's why, I haven't gotten the veggies out yet. I just have some chicken. And, comment below if you're like also find that sometimes you end up with some leftover meat in the fridge where you had meant to do something with it, and then you're like, this is going to go bad because I didn't cook that dinner. It happens to me all the time. So perfect. I had taken this out of the freezer for something else, and now that I'm doing some meal prep, I'm like, you know what? We'll make some Greek chicken bowls with this. I have the ingredients on hand, so this is going to work out great. So I just diced up my chicken. And then when it comes to seasoning chicken like this, I'm just winging it. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of olive oil over it. And then I'm going to do a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of onion powder, and a teaspoon of dried basil. I have often used like a leftover salad dressing to marinate my chicken in as well. So if you have some Italian salad dressing or some Greek salad dressing, or like anything that's like an oil and vinegar based dressing, I have used that to marinate my chicken many times. It's a great way to use up that kind of the bottom of the dressing from the fridge and kind of clear out that area as well. So if you have something like that, that's totally an option. But do you and choose whatever your favorite meat seasoning is, because again, you may not even have chicken. Whatever type of meat you have, slice it up, season it, and we're just going to bake it this time, and it's going to be super simple. And I keep meaning to say thank you guys for bearing with me because I have a cold, and you can probably tell. So my voice is a little not great. This is why you're not seeing my face on camera today. I'm just doing the best I can to get by and get this video out for you guys. And I'm just going to bake this at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. I think chicken is like 165 in the middle, so if you need to test the temperature, go ahead and do that. But mine was perfectly cooked all the way through when I took it out. And so the fun don't stop on a day like today where I'm just prepping. So we've got the vegetables finishing up. I have the chicken ready to go in when the vegetables come out, and I'm going to cut some potatoes here. You can see like parts of them are kind of old. That's okay. We can pull that off and the rest of the potato will be totally fine. And I'm just going to cook up a bunch of breakfast potatoes in the oven, and we're going to make breakfast bowls with these. So my goal here is to kind of use what I already have and then make breakfasts and lunches for at least the first half of the week. I ended up making like 4 lunch bowls, 4 breakfast bowls. So between my husband and I, it wasn't like going to last us the entire week, but it's a good way to get started. And then I figured, Wednesday comes around and I can kind of recap, see where we're at, and see what else I can do. But it was definitely a money-saving kind of great start to get us going on the week. And then not, my husband will tend to grab breakfast out if I don't have breakfast bowls ready for him. And so this was a great money-saving opportunity, and I didn't have to throw anything out either. And this is like a classic move on my part. Like, I'm always trying to do anything to have less dishes, but then I get to the end and I'm like, this bowl is way too small. I need to use a second bowl. I ended up using the same amount of dishes in the long run anyway. So for seasoning on these, I just poured some olive oil over them, and then I again used the Steakhouse Auntie Nonos. That's like kind of what I was in the mood to do, the flavor that I wanted this time. But again, you can use any of your favorite seasoning salt or whatever your favorite way to cook breakfast potatoes is. To bake these, I'm going to bake them at about 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. And I'll admit that when I'm doing like a bunch of different things and they're all cooking at different temperatures at different times, I'll sometimes overlap them. And I think it depends on what you're cooking, but this stuff is kind of forgivable. So as far as like the chicken needs to go at 350 and these still need to go at 400, I'll put them in at the 350 and then I'll just cook them through the time that the chicken cooks, and then I'll maybe increase the heat if I need to. I think that's what I did, and then I cooked them for like another 20 minutes. So if you kind of feel comfortable with that, you can do that. If you need to stagger it because you just don't feel comfortable, then don't do it. It's whatever you feel comfortable with your oven and how comfortable you are cooking like that. That's kind of just how I do it, and I feel like I've been able to feel it out through the years, but it's whatever you want to do. So while all that's cooking, I've got my bowls. I'm getting ready to make those. So I'm just slicing up some tomatoes. These are just things that I had on hand. So I didn't like buy all the stuff for a chicken bowl at the beginning of the week or anything like that. This is actually what was kind of left in my fridge. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Like, how can I still use this and make it into something? And that's just kind of what I came up with. I was like, chicken, rice, tomato, and I'm going to slice up some cilantro and some cucumber and some red onion too. So whatever you have, a bowl is the perfect like meal prep thing that you can kind of just take odds and ends and throw everything together and it'll still be good. I feel like any time of day I can go make like a bean burrito bowl because I always have rice on hand and I always have black beans on hand, and whatever else you have hanging around, it'll make do. For my roasted vegetables, I decided to put them in a bag because that just seemed like the right size thing that I had, but you can put them whatever you want. You can very easily throw these into lunch or breakfast bowls as well, but I decided to just put them on the side and that way I could use them as I wanted. The breakfast potatoes came out perfect cooking them like that. You can see that they're nice and crispy, nice and brown. And then I just cracked a dozen eggs because I had them on hand. You could definitely use less if you wanted to because you're kind of already having potatoes and stuff like that. Scrambled them up, added just a splash of milk, and then I cooked them over medium to low heat and added some diced scallions and then fresh spinach to that, just again because I had it on hand. But you can add anything that you like to cook on in your eggs to your breakfast bowls. And this is just proof that you don't need to keep up with the Joneses to make a delicious breakfast prep. I don't have any fancy containers or anything like that. I have what's around, what's on hand. If you do have them, I mean, more power to you. But I'm just saying you don't have to in order to make yourself a nice little breakfast. And then I just added a little bit of cheese to the top because I did have it on hand. You can always shred up like some block cheese if you have some too. Now, I love to get really ambitious and make a big list of things I want to make on a certain day, and a lot of times it just doesn't all happen in the same day, and I think that's okay. You have to give yourself grace and give yourself time. If you have time to do it the next day, that's okay. If it takes till next weekend, that's okay too. I had promised the family some of my favorite blueberry banana muffins, and I was thinking, because I was doing pantry prep, that I would have lots of freezer bananas, but lo and behold, I actually was like on the short end of that. I didn't have enough. You need 3 full bananas for this recipe, and I had about like 1.5. So I just substituted 1.5 bananas for, I don't know, maybe like a half a cup of applesauce, and that worked out fine. Always seems to work great in baking, so I figured it would be a good substitute, and it worked. And then you want to add 3/4 a cup of sugar, 1 egg, 1/3 a cup of melted butter, and 1 cup of blueberries. And then I found this comical because I pulled out another bowl and I was like, yes, I'm going to actually mix together the flour and the baking soda and the baking powder, and it's going to be great. And then I'm going to pour it into the bowl just like they say in the directions, because usually I don't do it that way, but I was feeling extra motivated this day. Well, I put 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt in one bowl, and then it was time to add in the flour, and I just poured 1.5 cups of flour right into the wet mixture. So all my efforts in pouring everything into a separate bowl were for nothing. And mom brain, I'm gonna blame it on mom brain. Now this batter becomes nice and thick, and this is how I knew that I kind of had the right mixture and the right amount of applesauce, because I'd made these before, so I knew this is exactly how they should turn out. So I was very happy with my choice of switching that out there. And then all I had was these, beautiful Halloween cupcake holders, and so I used those. I didn't have to use them, but I like to use those. It just seems like it's easier for me, and I like to keep my pan from getting, stuff stuck in the bottom of it. And hey, I had them on hand. This is like a pantry cleanout thing, right? So we have to use the old Halloween ones. And then you want to bake these at 375 degrees for 20 minutes. I came back right at 20 minutes, and I felt like mine were a little browner than usual. It's funny how that happens sometimes, right? But they turned out great, and no one even knew that there was applesauce in them, so I thought that was a big win. And the next thing I was doing, you must think I'm rich because I have 24 eggs on hand. I don't know how this happened, but we have to use them because they are like gold, right? So I decided to steam them the best way that I know how and make some hard-boiled eggs for the week as snacks. So I like to use my steamer. I just use the steam setting for 14 minutes, and they turn out perfect every time.
What do you think? 200 out, 200 out, 200 out, 200 out, 200. Look outside.
Why? Is it snowing?
Camera, look at it.
It's hard to tell. There's a big reflection, but I guess you can tell now. It's snowing outside, huh? Right, JJ?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So I just heat up the steamer, and then when it beeps, you put the eggs in, and then we're going to cook them for, put it back up to 14 minutes. And then when they come out, you want to put them in an ice bath so that they are cooked perfectly. And seriously, this is my favorite way, and I find that they peel really easily. Overall, I'm a big fan.
Okay, so another great way to either save money on food by buying in bulk or using up things that are gonna go bad that you have a lot of is to dehydrate. Now, I have used my dehydrator in my air fryer before, and that worked great, but there's only one shelf in my air fryer, so I can't really do a lot, which is why I want to thank London Sunshine for sponsoring today's video. They sell an 8 shelf dehydrator, which gives it like so much more space. And so originally I had grabbed these mangoes on sale and they did not get eaten. And so part of my meal prep today is I actually want to put these in the dehydrator and try out dehydrating these mangoes. And then I was also a while back able to grab some steak. This is a top sirloin steak on sale. And I popped that in my freezer, didn't know what to do with it. I still haven't done anything with it. And I figured, why don't we use this opportunity to make some beef jerky as a snack? So we'll have a couple of snacks that are gonna be great for using in the dehydrator, and we're gonna have them for the week. And this is great pantry prep, right? So if you have some steak, you're like, I haven't used that yet, you can make up some jerky. And then same thing with these mangoes. I think they're gonna be delicious.
So you just want to slice up your mangoes to maybe like 1/4 inch thick into thin slices, place those on the trays, and then we are going to dehydrate them according to the instructions that come with the dehydrator. So I believe that is like 131 degrees. I let mine go for 8 hours.
So I did this overnight. So I came down this morning and everything was like perfect. And my kids already went ham on it. Like they already ate this whole top tray. They're like, can we have a baggie of it? But it's perfect. And I like it because a lot of the times you get something at the store, like a dried fruit, and it really has a lot of additives and a lot of added sugar. And this is I didn't do anything to it, right? It's insanely good. So dehydrating fruit is a super good idea. I want to try some pineapple because there's this brand Solely, delicious stuff, but so expensive. And that Solely stuff it says all it is like 1 mango or 1 pineapple. So you get like the same thing out of it, but you don't have to buy the bars. And we have tons of snacks for the week. Now that my fruit's on, I'm gonna do my steak. So I have a 1/2 cup of soy sauce, which is like key to any teriyaki type marinade, right? Then 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire. Worcestershire's like, both soy sauce and Worcestershire, you can actually get a Dollar Tree. So it can be pretty inexpensive to keep on hand. I mean, obviously get higher quality if that's what you like, but for like Worcestershire, I don't think it really matters. For soy sauce, I do think it does, but it's still good from the Dollar Tree, so it's fine. You wanna do 2 tablespoons of freshly cracked ground pepper or whatever, any type of black pepper that you have. So it'll take me a minute here. You know, do it to taste, whatever you like. 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of seasoned salt. I would be using my Auntie Nono's if I had some, but I'm all out. So I'm just waiting patiently for my order. And 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder.
So ideally you want to freeze your steak for like 1 to 2 hours or have it like slightly defrosted when you're slicing it. Mine was like rock solid frozen. So I worked really hard and I made it work, but I wouldn't do that in the future. I would have it less frozen.
Okay, well, I'm sweating. That was some work, but we are going to close this up and marinate it for a few hours. So not very pretty, but once you take it out of the fridge, you want to, yeah, see my hands, dry this off, and then we're gonna put it right onto the racks here. So I put this at 158 for 8 hours, and we're gonna see what happens. Okay, the 8 hours is up, and as you can see, somebody stole my jerky. My husband loves it. He thinks it's amazing. It came out so good, so delicious, and it will be making a lot more in the future. This is a great thing to do with your on sale steak that's maybe been in the freezer a little while. It's time to use it for something. This is it.
So to get your very own dehydrator where you can make tons of dried fruit, dried vegetables even, and dried meats, go ahead and click the link in my description box and get yours today. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you got some meal prep inspiration and you can kind of raid your fridge for some delicious meals as well. For more pantry cooking, $0 cooking inspiration, click on this next video and I'll see you all very soon.
I was out of use. Now every day